Welcome back to Kenshi, the game where calling your possessions yours is a crime and is commonly punished with repossession. Kenshi is a moon comprised of many different factions that try to enforce laws to make their owned land adequate for living. And just like stealing and kidnapping your enemies, using random people as training partners unprovoked, and finding knocked out and crippled guards and using them as assassination practice by chopping them in the back of the neck when they wake up are all suggestions of what you should not do. And so are the laws, just suggestions. And to make it better, the world's been overrun by Beakthings, with the mod No Hope, No Escape, Beakthing, which has comments like, I see you're a man of culture and enjoy pain and suffering too. And to the author of this mod, who hurt you? But the mod creator wasn't just done there. They also decided to add stronger Beakthings as well, which spawned in the world after being in the game for so long. So we're in kind of a rush. You might be wondering what we're rushing to do, and I can tell you that very easily. We're rushing to kill No Face, which by himself in the base game is really no big problem. But the mod creator, of course, decided to buff him. And with his termination, the overpopulation of Beakthings would immediately go away, thus being the goal of the mod and our challenge today. So let's start this adventure into the Beakthing infested lands of Kenshi. Like every start, we start in character creation. I decided to play something other than a human this time because I just wanted something a little different, but of course this would come to bite me in my biggest time of need. But we were playing as a skeleton, and I don't mean to be that guy, but they don't have much customization, so we just stuck with default. I named them KBot3486 for no reason other than I thought it sounded cool and kind of manufactured. And for the idle pose, I gave them a crouching evil pose for maximum intimidation. And since we're starting as a wandering trader, we have a big backpack and we have a pack bowl that I promptly named Bart. With that being said, let's get started. The world of Kenshi is already cruel enough, and with Beakthings and other super deadly wildlife everywhere, and especially things that I haven't seen before, I decided I would level some athletics. So that entailed me running back and forth all day in game. So let me just save you some time. And just like that, there's a trader going out. I have no clue where they're going, but I do know they are protection. And if worse comes to worse, well, they're an escape. So we traveled with them. And to not waste time, since they were moving probably as slow as you can move while traveling, we ran around in circles behind them to keep training while we traveled. They probably thought we looked crazy off of our own supply, but in Kenshi, that's completely fine. I'd much rather look crazy than be viciously eaten by Beakthings. Not so long into our journey, the pack bulls ran off to fight some bandits, and well, that sounded like free stuff to me. And of course, I'm not sure if you've tried to fight a bull with a stick, but I'm pretty sure that bull wins that fight 9 times out of 10. So naturally we ran over and I happily filled my pockets with cats of the fallen, I don't know what they were, but I have their money. That's the important part. Then we quickly ran back to the group, and from there it was just good sights. And right as we saw the camp the travelers were going to, we also saw a pack of Beakthings. The good thing about traveling with strangers is I don't have to care about what happens. I just have to run to the side when things get bad. But they, kind of handled it. Only one guy survived, so I got more stuff from looting the poor group and moved on to the camp. Turns out it was a mining enslavement camp, so our travels were for pretty much nothing. There was no place to sell our goods, but we were able to buy a group of mercenaries to run along with us, so it wasn't so bad after all. After finding a single Beakthing out in the wild, I decided to see what my guards are made of, and well, this was the right investment. You're probably asking, where am I wandering off to, and what's the plan? Well, I don't really know where I'm wandering off to, and the plan is to succeed, so I can only assume that's in a town somewhere where I can train and at least get some materials to make a strong fighter. On our way to the new city, we were attacked by angry farmers with swords and metal pipes, and I sat off in the distance and watched my mercenaries barely survive. One standing at the end of the fight, but most of them survived. My looting nature naturally came out of me, so I stole all of my own mercenaries' armor and effectively made them useless, but it would mean more money in my pocket. Also, they almost just lost to a bunch of farmers, so how useful can they be? We arrive at the great city of Heft, where we will have a hefty bit of progress. We start by selling all our trade goods at a upcharge of only around 14%, but extra money. We end up with 13.6 thousand cats, and we invest that into a little shack where we could craft a few things. The bad part about the mercenaries is they only kill things, and they don't help with work around the house. I took their armor, so I guess that's a fair trade, seeing that I sold it. But as I started complaining, they left, back into the desolate world of Kenshi, and I'm sure they'll make it back home just fine. With them gone, Bart and I would go on to craft some items such as training swords, and with these, we could train all the stats related to fighting without needing to take damage or risk dying. The only catch is we didn't have a training partner, and hiring somebody to be on our team wouldn't work because we can't just attack them, so I needed to kidnap a bandit. All I had to do was wait, and I didn't have to wait long because bandits decided to attack the town soon after I thought of this plan. So promptly when the fight ended, I called Bart, we looted, and I found a bandit that was still breathing. I snatched them and brought them to the side of the city. I stripped them down to nothing but a cloth and a training sword, and when they opened their eyes, they were met with a training sword to the head. So that meant it was time to level. Sadly, I was attacked by one of his friends soon after starting, so I had to swap to the real deal and persuade them to leave. After a bit more training, I accidentally knocked out my partner, and while I was trying to get them back on their feet, a guard came by, grabbed them, and took them to a cell. I followed them to get my training sword back because that's really all I cared about, and the guy I had persuaded earlier, well, I stripped them down, gave them the training sword, and got them back on their feet. So with my new training partner, we began to get better and better over time. Until a giant skimmer that appeared out of nowhere scared me to death, and well, of course, I ran away. And my training partner was beat to death because he was trying to defend himself with a weapon that does 0 damage. Nighttime came around and I decided I'd level some stealth, but I didn't really know how to do it, so I gave up immediately. Day came around and it was time to get on the move. If I had enough mercenaries, then I could deal with absolutely any problem just by telling them to beat it up. Again, we headed off into a random direction to find another city, and as Bart and I ran, we saw a coastal town, and I had very high hopes. But as always, Kenshi had its own plans, and one Beakthing attacked Bart. Luckily, he survived, and bandits decided to chase us for a second. Now, they had to deal with the Beakthing. And that gave me ample room to 1v1 the last bandit that was still running after us. And by the time our 1v1 ended, the Beakthing was having lunch. I threw my opponent over my shoulder, healed Bart, and it was time to keep going. But less than 10 seconds later, a legion of Beakthings appeared out of seemingly nowhere, and it was time to run for our lives. And as for the guy on my shoulder, well, let's just call him a distraction. The Beakthings quickly ran me down and knocked me out, but luckily, because I'm a skeleton, I wasn't eaten alive. However, Bart was made of flesh and bone. Luckily, they stopped eating him pretty quickly, and I have no clue why they stopped, but hey, we'll take it. I threw him over my shoulder after healing him, and I started to run for my life. Kenshi didn't want me to get away that easy, so a skimmer showed up, and I had to deal with it. But it was no threat to me after all of the training I had gone through. Thankfully, the rest of the run to the newly discovered Port South was easy. Unfortunately, there was absolutely nothing there for us, so we left empty-handed, with no help for the next run. However, the run back to Heft was no problem, besides the fact that we lost our beloved Bart to a pack of skimmers. It was a needed sacrifice for the team. So the new plan was just to grab a few mercenaries on the way to No Face. I had beaten him before and it wasn't that bad, so the buffs because of the mod couldn't have been that crazy. So I started moving toward him with the goal to have an army by the time we made it to him. And along with our training and overwhelming numbers, it should be an easy battle. So we got moving. In Hang, we found mercenaries we hired, and after traveling to the Black Desert and finding nothing but, desert, I decided it was time. Upon making it to Gut, the region where No Face resided, there was an overabundance of Beakthings, but nothing we can't sneak past. However, the mercenaries had a different idea, and that idea was to try to defend me by getting themselves killed right away, leaving just me to take on No Face. And that went about as good as you'd think. Not only are the stats double of what they are in the base game, but he has a few friends around him this time. 3 sniper bots with pinpoint accuracy, and 3 elder Beakthings, which have over double the stats of the normal ones. And if that was not enough, I had to swim over to a small 2x2 island to fight all of them at the same time. So anyway, we died to a sniper miles before we got to the island. So let's prep a bit better. We went back to the training arc, but this time, instead of fighting outside of town, we would fight inside so the guards wouldn't scoop up my training buddy, and better yet, skimmers wouldn't outright kill him. After a bit of time, I realized the XP wasn't up to my time standard, as in I didn't want to wait 6 hours for 3 levels. So after a massacre outside of town, I found a guard that was still breathing, and I decided that they would be my new training partner. However, there was one glaring problem. They were crippled. I found this out when they decided not to fight me when they woke up, and they crawled away screaming for the guards. So instead, I practiced my assassination skills on them whenever they woke up. And another random person walked by, so I added them to the practice as well. But after Emperor Tengu walked out of town with his crew, cool looking robes and crossbow, and shot my sparring partner in the shoulder, I thought it was time to go. And it was a good choice because, well, I never saw that man again. Thankfully, the guards are stupid, and although I had a bounty on my head, I just ran by them fast enough and they wouldn't even notice. I went off to the repair shop to get healed up and grab a repair kit, and I was off to enact my final plan. Okay, so hear me out. If you kill or kidnap a leader, their people get mad, right? And this is very, very true for the Holy Nation, seeing that they are a radically racist and very self-centered group of people that only accept their own. So if I kill their leader or knock them out and steal them, they would be forced to send a ton of warriors to either kill me or get him back. And guess where I would be? I'd be waiting at Gut for their arrival. And when they show up and I inevitably die to the Elder Beakthings, Super Snipers, or No Face himself, the warriors would end up fighting and killing him, thus saving the world. I know, selfless act, but it has to be done. Anyway, let's go kill a king. Oh yeah, Bart's back as well. On the way to the Holy Nation capital, I truly realized how much they really don't like anyone that's not a human. I found this out because they chased me down for miles and miles, beat me down, and left me on the side of the road, but luckily I woke up and I was able to get to their capital city. Now that I know that they truly hate every single fiber of my being, it was gonna be a lot harder. It was gonna be less of a sneak in and assassination and more like a sieging of the castle. And with no team but myself, ironically, I decided I would use Beakthings because there was 3 nests outside of their city, and I would just lure the guards to fight the Beakthings over and over until the city was completely empty. At least that was the plan, because not only did they kill most of the Beakthings, but they either just respawned at their posts or decided after losing an arm they needed to go for Employee of the Month. Because, well, they were all still just standing guard. With my final idea completely foiled, I decided I would do the same thing again, but this time with a bit more training. I would make myself into a super soldier, and I would hire the best mercenaries money could buy, and most of all, I would kill No Face for having his grubby little pets even dare touch Bart. It ended the same way. I got a bit closer. But the mercenaries got slaughtered, and well, 1v9ing literal gods was never gonna go my way. Ranging them down's probably the best bet, as well as having a team that's more than just one idiot trying to conquer the world by himself. Or you could of course join the dark side to bring the world to the light, by allying with them from the start of the game, training your assassination skills, going to the island, knocking out No Face, dragging him away, and as he wakes up and tries to swim back, you just shoot him down in the water. Or just not install the mod. Yeah, you should probably just not install the mod. Thank you everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and of course, as always, like, subscribe, and comment if you, well, like the video. Subscribe if you want to see more, and comment because I'm sure you have something to say about it. Whether it be how stupid I am and how much I should have spent more time getting other people and training up my army of actual named individuals to take out No Face, or if you just want to leave your Kenshi stories in the comments, tips on how I can get better, or how you would have beaten this challenge. In any regard, have a wonderful day, stay hydrated, and I'll see you in the next one.